Have you ever wondered what an old idea, okay, dating back as far as the 1800s, would look like if you transferred it into a sci-fi world? Today, that's exactly what we're going to find out in this video. I'll show you my complete process from sketchy thumbnails to a final refined pinup girl poster. Okay, it's perfect for your portfolio. So stick around because you're going to see the exact methods and design thinking I use to create this design. So let's find out together what it's going to look like. All right, guys, let's dive into thumbnail sketches, okay? If you've ever stared at a blank canvas, right, feeling stuck, that white canvas, right, we've all been there. Thumbnails are your best friend because concept art, it always starts with this exploration phase. This is where you explore as many ideas as you want or you can. For this project, I already had a good idea of the direction, but there are times when you might need to do dozens of exploratory sketches, okay? Especially if you're working with clients, because when you're working with a client, you're not just catering to your vision, you're catering to their vision, right? When you're working on your own project, you are the creative director, you are the art director, you are the concept artist, you are the illustrator, you are everything for that project, and you make all the decisions based on, your brief that you've made for that project. In this case, I explored 6 ideas, right? But with more complex characters, creatures, or hard surface designs, I can go as high as 15. I really want to dry up the well of potential ideas. Usually what I do though, I can go as high as 15 or more. However, usually I will explore, especially if I don't have a good idea of the exact direction of the character or creature. Then I will explore until I start to see a lot of repeat stuff. Okay, if I start to see stuff repeating itself and it starts to become variations of what I've already done, then I know that I'm pretty dried up. If I have time, like if I'm working sometimes on a personal project, I will just go 2 days of exploring sketches. Sometimes you can't do that with clients because, deadlines. But if you're on a personal project, most of the time you don't really have a deadline, even though I recommend you do give yourself a bit of a deadline, okay? I was actually surprised by the concept I ended up choosing because I thought I already knew which one I was going to go with this project. But, that's the beauty of exploration, is that you don't know which one you're going to end up with. And that's amazing. I like that. While sketching, I was thinking about franchises like Starship Troopers and Halo and Helldivers, okay? Especially Starship Troopers and Helldivers. These posters are designed to tap into these subconscious primal instincts, okay? Historically, they are propaganda tools, right? They're psychological operations. Right? They're meant to entice men to enlist into the military. It started as early as the 1890s, but it was during World War II that the US began using the sex appeal more intentionally. These posters made men believe that either they're going to attract women to them by being a soldier, or that they needed to fight to protect the women back home. Either way, they were incredibly effective psychological triggers and operations. By the end of this phase, I chose 3 thumbnails to move into the rough sketch stage. Some concept artists, they might pick a final at this point, but again, if you're working with a client, definitely don't want to show them these rough sketches, okay? These rough exploration sketches, especially if it's a producer or non-artist, okay? They're not going to have the artistic eye that an art director or another artist will have, and they will probably freak out seeing such messy sketches, and they might not think you can do this. All right, so trust me, don't show them this rough stage. It's just for you. All right, so let's now move into the next phase, okay, the rough sketch phase. Hey guys, just quickly before we move on, my goal is to build a badass community of artists and designers here on YouTube and throughout the web, okay, to help you grow, to improve, and to achieve your artistic goals. So please do consider liking and subscribing to help us build a community of 1,000 badass artists, hopefully by the end of April, okay? I've got so many awesome designs and videos planned and a lot more knowledge to share. So if you feel like this channel is good for you and it's going to help you grow as an artist and a designer, please do subscribe, and let's continue with the video. Okay, so here we are, okay, with the 3 concepts I moved forward with. Initially, I thought I'd go with the middle one, but surprise, it wasn't the winner. Number 1 ended up being the one that just clicked for me, all right? 2 had some perspective issues, and 3's composition just didn't hit the mark for me. Now, I could have fixed them with time, but 1 was already working, so I thought, let's just go with that. This is something that AI will never take away from us, okay? The creative process, the highs, the lows, the moment of panic where you think, this is garbage, I'm a fraud, right? Followed by that magic of turning it around, okay? When you get through the ugly phase and you get that feeling, okay, when it all clicks, and nothing beats that. Nothing beats that dopamine hit that you get from finally making it through that hard, ugly stage. It's just the best feeling that AI will never take away from us, and it's yours, it's not generated, right? Okay, with that decided, I moved into refining concept 1 further. All right, this is where you want to start thinking about, improving your design even more, right? Thinking about improving your design, it goes all the way through the process to the absolute end. When it's all done and posted in your portfolio, you will always spot things that you can improve on, perspective issues or proportion. These things happen even with pros, all right? It's just they're better at hiding it. Okay, so improving your design, pushing proportions, exploring how, the gear works, the props interact with the character. I call this the cleanup phase, but it's really more like, sculpting with lines. If you've got feedback or critiques for me, all right, drop them below, because I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm always open to learning how to improve, okay? We all miss things, and sometimes a fresh perspective reveals a problem, right? You hadn't even noticed. Just remember to do your best, okay? And your best will reveal itself in your art, right? So leave actual constructive feedback, leave a comment. Let's move on to the final section. All right, now we're at the final stretch, okay? We're going into this final step. I was asking myself, again, what can I do to improve design even more as I lay in these clean lines, right? As you'll see in the footage, okay, I made a lot of small changes, refining proportions, fixing perspective issues, especially around the helmet, which I actually ended up redrawing it entirely. Initially the perspective and the proportions were off, and I ended up using the symmetry tool just to make sure it was all correct, and then I just tilted it so that it would, fit on the head naturally. Like I said, I wanted it to look like it was tilted naturally on the head, and that being an industrial thing, a helmet, it's usually symmetrical anyway, which it just added a bit more personality to the pose, having the helmet on wrong or sexy, like that kind of thing. That's what I was going with. Now, I did unfortunately lose some footage, so I'm sorry for that, and there was some footage lost, so I don't have footage of the redrawing of the helmet, but you will see a change. This stage is when you really want to slow down, okay? You want to appreciate your own work, the effort that you put into this, the time, the energy, taking what you've created, because this is your design, okay? It's yours. It's not AI, it's not traced, it's not generated in any way. This is your creative process, okay? Your sweat and your hand and eye and brain that are working together, right? And that's something to be proud of. And no matter how polished the end result is, or your technical skill, because that's stuff that will improve over time. But one thing that I regret is not creating more during my study, when I was fully into studying, and I should have created more. So even if you're new and you're studying, make sure to every couple of weeks, in between studying, create something that's yours, right? Now, let's talk design thinking, right? This isn't just about rendering something that looks cool. A good design tells a story. So I started asking myself, what is the deeper narrative here, right? I wanted to hit a visual kind of blend between this retro sci-fi and kind of World War II propaganda in big bold shapes, simple color schemes, strong silhouette, and clear messaging. But then I thought about the why behind it, right? So what's the story of this world? This is something I'm going to talk about a lot more in up and coming design focused videos, okay? I have some awesome character designs planned and some creature designs that I plan to make videos on in the coming weeks. So, what kind of message would a poster like this be pushing, right? What's the story? What's the why? So I want to go over a little bit of the lore that I imagined for this world, okay? I didn't want to go into a crazy detail, but I did want something to keep me on track and inspire me. So in the UECC, right, the United Earth Colonies Coalition, okay, a dystopian megafaction, the population is largely impoverished. Right, enlistment, it pays well, sure, it pays well, but is there a catch? There's always a catch, right? You might not live long enough to enjoy that good pay, but there's a bit of a kicker here. Any money that you earn during service is returned to the state upon your death. Your family get nothing. They just forget to mention that part in the recruitment paperwork, right? So this opens up a darker angle to the propaganda. It's not just about be a hero. It's manipulation disguised as pride. Right? The poster, it becomes not only a visual throwback, but a critique. It looks into how desperate people are exploited for war. Right? Not just desperate, but poor and desperate people. They're always the first ones to be exploited for war. Okay, so that kind of narrative, yeah, it elevates the design. Right? When your audience looks at it, they feel something beyond just cool armor. So as I finished this piece, I kept that story in mind. You know, every detail, you know, from her expression, you know, that kind of slightly open mouth, you know, kind of like enticing kind of look that I went with, right? Her expression, to the tilt of her helmet, right? The gear she's wearing, or not much gear. It's all in service to the theme, right? She is supposed to hack into that primal part of a man's brain. That's my final tip. Design isn't just visual, right? It's emotional, it's narrative. And the more you embed that into your work, the stronger your design becomes emotionally. All right, that's the end of the process. From messy thumbnails to refined storytelling artwork, okay? This has been a blast. It's been so fun to do this video and this design, to be honest. It was just an awesome process. And I hope that you learned something, okay? Maybe you feel inspired. And if you do, okay, and you want to work on something similar, you know, tag me on Instagram or comment down below, okay? I would love to hear your thoughts and to hear what you're working on, okay? So if you enjoyed the process, you found some value, you know, you just want to support the channel, please do drop a like and consider subscribing, okay, to help us build this awesome community of artists so we can all help each other grow and become better. You know, it's the best way to do it. It's the way that the world should be going. All right, so let's keep pushing our skills, okay, and let's keep telling great stories and making designs that feel something, okay, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.